Welcome everyone to this session on wetlands as nature-based solution within water, energy, health and environment nexus. As we know, wetlands play a critical role in this nexus, and we'll be discussing all about what are the intervention points, what are the entry points that we can think of in terms of policy intervention, in terms of demonstration. So I am Ravi Prakash, working as a wetland specialist at Wetalnds International South Asia, and our organization work across the South Asian region on conservation of wetlands, be it high altitude wetlands, be it coastal mangrove wetlands, or whether peatlands and even urban wetlands like small wetlands, we work on them. So I look forward to this discussion. I invite, we have expert panelists here on different water, energy and health nexus and the wetlands. They have been working on this interface. So I invite Dr. Gopal Kumar from EME. He is a country representative at EME right now. So welcome.
Thank you.
Then I invite, yeah. Then I invite Mr. Suresh Babu from WWF. He leads the wetlands and water program there and have been working on the interface from long time. Please welcome.
Some adjustment.
And I also invite Ms. Archana Chatterjee, Program Manager, IUCN. She has been pioneering the wetlands program there and the freshwater ecosystem program at IUCN. So why exactly we are here? We have some purpose that we have to discuss about. The first is that we need to highlight the role of wetland system in supporting the nexus. The nexus we are talking about in this workshop, water, energy, health and environmental nexus. And we need to discuss about the entry points where we can think of wetlands as a nature-based solution, whether it is a policy or a planning entry points that we think of in terms of integrating wetlands into sectoral programs. We will also be looking forward to collaborating among institutions around the sector, whether I know that there are people from different sectors here, from water sector, from health sector. So we'll be looking forward to the collaboration. And the last purpose of this discussion is to have to generate an actionable recommendation for mainstreaming wetlands in planning and investment. So obviously any session, any workshop becomes fruitful if it gives some result, it gives some output to the on-ground reality. So I look forward to that. So the structure of the session is that I will be giving a few short presentation on the wetlands and water, energy, health and environment nexus. And then we will have a panel discussion. In panel discussion, we will be having introductory question to all of the panelists there will be a 5 to 10 minutes for each panelist on that, and then we will follow up different questions on that. For that we will have 5 minutes as well. So after that we will be open to question and answers from the audience. So I look forward to this. And so talking about wetlands, we know that there are global challenges and these challenges are interconnected. We are very much become obvious that, for example, global.
So Ravi, can you go there for some time for your presentation and then we'll come back?
Then we'll come back.
That's okay.
No. These people.
We are moving there. We'll come back again.
Acha,
For
okay.
your
Yeah,
presentation.
we can't
Yeah,
see
sure.
anything.
Okay. This is not visible from this side.
नहीं विजुअल गिरा सकते हो इसको घुमा दो
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we know that there are global challenges and these challenges are interconnected. For example, global warming impacts food security, impacts health risk and even water security. So these challenges are connected, but the planning is often sectoral. We always think about sector in terms of water, in terms of irrigation, in terms of agriculture, but these are very silos. Approach of looking into the issue. So understanding the water, energy, health and environment nexus, this nexus is also interdependent on each other and one sector influence each other. For example, if we take an example of wastewater treatment, it is obviously an energy consumption is there in the sector, but it also influences the water security. It provides us water security and it also provides environmental resilience in terms of biodiversity gain. And ultimately looking into the public health, it actually supports the public health sector as well. Now where do wetlands fit in this nexus? I would say wetland is central to this nexus. If we look into all the components of it, be it water, you know that wetlands provide flood buffering capacity. We know that groundwater recharge happens through wetlands. And water purification is also a major crucial role that wetlands play. In terms of energy, there is not much. Often it has been talked in mainstream, but if we look into the constructed wetland system, they are very efficient, low energy intensive water treatment than compared to conventional wastewater treatment system. So they are energy efficient also. And talking about public health, we know that wetlands, their communities have been dependent on wetland products from long time, and they have been dependent on nutrition for taking nutrition from those wetland products. For example, foxnut is such a super food, and it actually grows in wetlands. So, and not but the least, that environment is also a crucial central role plays that wetland plays. It supports biodiversity. Looking into this picture, you can see that wetlands provide it's a central to water security. If you look into the hydrograph of that without wetland and with wetland, the hydrograph slows at the when there is a wetland presence there, and it gradually decreases the flood attenuation and provides flood buffering to the system. And the figure in the right side you can see is the whole water budget of this country, and you look into the figures, around 490 VCM is the surface of water availability in the wetlands. So these are the wetlands that supports water security, water storage system. Wetland obviously provides health security. Foxnut, around 80 to 90% of global production of foxnut happens in India, specifically in North Bihar. So, and there are wetland rice, there are fisheries. Fishes are obviously dependent on wetlands, and clams, kevada, corna grass. These are the food products that provides health security to the people of the community dependent on wetlands. It also provides wash outcomes by treating wastewater and provides clean water. Wetlands are also biological super systems. So we know that around 43% of flora and 40% of fauna recorded in India are basically wetland dependent. You can see mammals 68%, angiosperms around 27%. This figure talks about how biodiversity is dependent on wetlands. As I already mentioned, that it's an energy efficient solution of wastewater treatment as well. So we have this design of constructed wetlands. We have been, at VISA, we have been working with NMCG and other departments on rejuvenation of wetlands through constructed wetlands. So these are very energy efficient solutions for wastewater treatment. So if you compare the energy consumption, it is quite 80 to 90% of energy consumption gets reduced when you look into these solutions rather than conventional treatment system. What are the challenges? So we know that around 54% of country faces high security, water stress, and then there is a flood which leads to high cost. For example, in Bangalore, 225 crores it costed 225 crores on single day when it flooded in Bangalore. 1 in 5 water birds in terms of biodiversity is globally threatened. And obviously, most polluted wetlands, emits more methane, 40 to 60% more methane. So these are the challenges, but the solution, which is basically wetlands, is excluded from the mainstream planning. It is a fragmented governance across sectors. There are different sectors, but wetlands is not mainstream within these sectors. We have been trying to do this, but I think somewhere we need to think of upscaling this. So they are often treated as leftover land rather than a strategic infrastructure. I'll skip this. Yeah. So what are the entry points of integrating wetlands in water, energy, health, and environment nexus? So the potential pathways can be integrating wetlands in river basin management. I think WWF and VISA and IUCN, these all organizations have been trying to do this, but I think upscaling is important, and we need to think of how we can upgrade it in small rivers as well. What about rivulets? So how we can integrate into smaller basins and smaller catchments. Then the potential pathway, another potential pathway is to look into urban water and wastewater planning. Can we think of integrating wetlands as a model as an NBS model for example, programs like Amrut, for example, like Swachh Bharat Mission. There are strategic procedural interventions that shows that rejuvenation of water body plays a crucial role in those programs. But as a solution, as a model, it's still lacking there in the schemes. We also have to think about integrating wetlands in climate adaptation strategies and in WASH initiatives. So the discussion is that wetlands already deliver solution across water, energy, health, and environment. How do we integrate wetlands into mainstream planning and policy is the question. My key question to the panelists would be, how can we upscale integration of wetlands in water and river basin planning in India? Can wetlands be scaled as low energy wastewater treatment solution? As I already mentioned, in different programs and schemes, can we think of integrating wetlands? And can we create a sustainable model for wetlands as nature-based solution for public health and nutrition also? For example, making a foxnut model, creating a direct market linkage to the foxnut farmers, and then creating a sustainable model. What are the institutional changes that are needed to mainstream wetlands in developmental planning? So these are the key questions. So we will be discussing more about this in the panel discussion. I again welcome all the panelists to come and say this is the presentation, and please be seated in the seats. Alok sir, would you like to join?
Oh, no.
Otherwise, he's also parked out there.
Yeah.
Any questions will go.
I asked him, but he said.
I'm under treaty with him, so main
I
question.
was already in Wetlands, so I didn't want to participate in so many people. And today
Yeah.
there is one more going on in NMCG.
Acha, okay.
There also
Yes.
I asked my other colleague Sena to talk.
Okay.
I was already
Now
here.
he's in guiding role.
Guiding
so
role,
I
huh?
think
Now as emeritus scientist, my role is more guiding.
Yeah, so you saw the key questions. I would like to start with Ms. Archana Chatterjee. On first of all, just to give what are your thoughts on this whole wetlands and water, energy, health, and environment nexus? Please, Ms. Archana.
Thank you so much. I think many of the points you covered through your examples and your presentation. So of course, wetlands are critical for as like a center point where we can relate to these, the various points of nexus that you have identified. But the thing is that in our context, in our country's context, wetlands are seen as some separate ecosystem which is outside the river basin.
Yeah.
That's what from my so many years of work in wetlands and river basins are very well recognized within the planning and everything.
Yeah.
But wetlands are not seen as integral part of the river basin. So that is, I think, one of the things that we should look at how. And one thing linked to that is that in the land use category, wetlands are classified under wastelands
Yeah.
in our revenue records. So that is, I think, that has been my one critical point of intervention always, that how do we bring it out of the category of wasteland. So all our commons mostly, and wetlands come in our commons, they are put under the category of wasteland. So that is one important policy and governance aspect that we have to look at how to do that. There is lot of awareness now, and I think ministry is also doing lot of programs like you mentioned, I also sort of looked at Namami Gange, then Amrit Dharohar, and ICFRA has also done a lot of work on these DPRs for the 12 or 13 river basins, where again forestry based interventions but also are mentioned. And then of course Mission Amrit Sarovar and Amrit Dharohar and other things. So government is also taking up, and we have around, I think, 98 Ramsar sites now. 98 Ramsar sites now. So, and many of them are inside the protected area. So that is another thing, long ago I had done one study when I was working with WWF, that what is the, applying the management effectiveness tracking tool, how do the Ramsar sites behave when they are in the protected areas and outside the protected areas. So we had done a global sort of application of MET and done this study. And it was very surprising that the Ramsar sites that are outside the protected areas are maximum in the Montreal record. And their ecological character is being impacted, and because they don't come under protection status in the country, it is very difficult to manage them, assign them, managers and funding like it's done in protected. Even within the protected areas, the wetlands are not managed as a wetland. They are part of the management plan of the protected area, which is mostly terrestrial based aspects that are looked at. So I think these are some of the aspects that are improving within our country as well, and the awareness on wetlands and the work of organizations like WWF, IUCN, IMI and many others through their efforts. A lot of focus is on wetlands and of course the aquatic biodiversity and the livelihoods it supports. Interestingly, in one of our programs on coastal conservation, Bay of Bengal, large marine ecosystems, there is a very specific component on ecosystem assisted fisheries management, and this EAFM sites will be identified, mapped, and the nodal ministry is Ministry of Fisheries, so we are working with them, and the BOBP IGO organization on how these ecosystem assisted fisheries management sites can also be recognized as OECMs. So that is another aspect where this other effective area based conservation measures, through that I think again wetlands can play a big role in that category, if we recognize them as OECMs, provided the Government of India releases its guidelines very soon. They have not yet been revised and released, so we are all waiting for that. We have done a very interesting study on Himalayan wetlands, Himalayan areas and specifically wetlands, which could be potential OECM. So we are already trying to look at areas which could be potential OECMs in coastal areas, in Himalayan areas and floodplain wetlands as well, which can be then designated once the guidelines are in place. So I'll just stop, take a break here.
Just a follow-up question on that, Mr. Chatterjee. So you talked about wetland OECM. So how do you think that it can be standardized and can be attached to the protected area network strategies? So do you think that there is a potential in that?
See, OECMs are by definition outside the protected areas. So basically, these could be in the buffer zones, or these could be like in Keoladeo, we have many satellite wetlands, which are feeding areas for the birds, the migratory birds. So maybe those wetlands are not within the protected area regime. And so these can be, these satellite wetlands can be designated as OECMs, which provide an ecosystem service not only for the people supporting irrigation and other services, but also for the birds and the wildlife that is there. So examples such as these kind of wetlands, which can play an important role in supporting the protected areas and also the livelihoods of people, not necessarily near the protected areas. It could be, OECMs. Another example could be the Saras crane habitats in UP, these rice paddies. Also, although rice paddies are not recognized as wetlands in India, but even those can be agricultural OECMs and supporting the bird habitat. So these are some examples. OECMs can play wetlands can play an important role as OECMs, because if you see that all the forest area and the tree outside forest have been already reported by Government of India under their, the protected area, different categories, IUCN categories globally. So what the conundrum now is that what do we designate as OECM? Because everything is already been reported as protected. So the wetlands offer a very good option for targeting for OECM designation once the guidelines are out. Thank you.
So talking about your work in IUCN, so there has been a lot of work going on nature-based solutions, NBS standards. So what do you think about wetlands being a model for NBS in that sense?
Absolutely. I mean, wetlands are themselves a nature-based solution. I mean, you look at how important role wetlands play in flood mitigation, like classic example is Assam, in Guwahati, the Porbeel, and the network of wetlands that could play an important role. And in fact, I think Assam government has identified wetlands as being important, playing an important role for flood mitigation and as a nature-based solution. In fact, in one of our projects for the Kachar Karimganj districts of Assam, which are highly vulnerable to climate change, we are doing for the district administration a nature-based solution strategy where wetlands are one of the major role players.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chatterjee. I will come to Mr. Suresh Babu. So, Mr. Suresh, we have been working on river basins. So, WWF is obviously working on Satluj or other basins as well. So, what do you think? What are the interventions needed in terms of policy and governance when we talk about upscaling those models in different river basins as well? Be it small rivers or something.
I have a challenge with my voice.
Okay.
Mic is also supporting.
Mic is
You can use this. I think it
I don't have a I have a very bad throat. Just recovering. On the basin side, there are several challenges, and in your presentation you talked about smaller rivers. There are good examples and good initiatives, like Archana mentioned about the NMCG recognizing wetlands in the core strategy, because in Ravi's presentation he talked about how wetlands can contribute to aquifer recharge, it can contribute to flows, etc. So from an NMCG point of view, for the Ganga basin, wetlands have been very well recognized that it can add to Aviral Dhara as well as the Nirmal Dhara, the clean water part as well as the continuous flow part of it. Now the key question comes is, the key question is, while our intention around basin planning is very clear, we don't have institutions to support it. basin, multiple states, multiple districts. Even within a state, within the different districts, who is going to coordinate? So the challenge here is that right now we are looking at wetlands from a site-specific intervention point of view. एक wetland identify कर लिया, अमृत सरोवर में identify. It's very important. It's very, very important. So and we start protecting it, managing it, conserving it. All of this is happening. What we have forgotten is that the wetland river connectivity. So again I want to highlight that the three-dimensional connectivity in a basin scale need to be kind of be the starting point of any planning. The longitudinal connectivity of rivers, the lateral connectivity of the river, the floodplains, the wetlands, and the vertical connectivity. And when you actually look at all the three, wetlands play a key role, and that's why you put them at the center. WWF had been looking at big rivers and small rivers, and I want to kind of give you an example of a aquifer-fed river, which is about 170 kilometers, Aril in UP. Aril is an aquifer-fed river, therefore there is a seasonality, but over a period of time, this river has gone dry. The reason is also that the wetlands have gone dry. Wetlands got disconnected from its catchments, and the wetlands got disconnected from the river itself, both from surface point of view as well as the underground point of view. So what we have done is, with the district administration, there are two districts, Moradabad and Bareilly. So we work with both the district administrations to kind of look at how the surface groundwater interaction is in this area, identified those wetlands which are of criticality in terms of base flows contribution, which is groundwater recharge, try to map the catchment connectivity, work with the Chief Development Officer and the District Magistrate and his departments to connect the wetland to the catchment and wetland to the river. It took 5 years for us. And now the river is showing changes because groundwater recharge ho raha hai, base flows are rahe. Now for this, if a neutral agency like WWF or a IUCN or a VISA or WWF or IWMI is not there, then who is going to kind of bring in that knowledge? Veena ji is here. She had been also engaging at different states and struggling with all of this. So the key question, I would say, how to scale up. The first question is, where is the institutions? How can we envision institution which can think beyond administrative jurisdictions and look at ecological and hydrological limits? We are again trying. If the Aril model, we can kind of come up with a small basin organization. So we are having a conversation with NMCG and the State Mission for Clean Ganga to see if there is an institutional setup that can be done. The second question is, institution ka policy backing kya hai? Who gives them the mandate to do that? So we have the Namami Gange Authority Order of 2016, which empowers the districts. Now it will require an amendment to kind of look at a basin scale organization, which can have a much broader institutional overview and an oversight of the basin in itself. That's number two. Number three is the funding part of it. Who is going to kind of fund a program which looks at river and wetland co-management? Right now, wetland के लिए पैसा अलग है, NPCA में पैसा दे रहे हैं, नमामि गंगे में river basins के लिए पैसा दे रहे हैं, and कुछ wetlands के लिए अलग से पैसा दे रहे हैं. So how do you kind of look at the financing, at that scale? So I'll give you another example. So this becomes, I'm just talking about Namami Gange because that's the only place where you have an enabling policy available right now, which needs to be tweaked, and it's an easy step for us to kind of take. But for the rest of the rivers, there are initiatives in around 6 major rivers that's happening. But वहाँ पे policy क्या होगा, notification आएगा कि नहीं, institution क्या आएगा? So that's a big question in place. Urban rivers are, even in a much worse condition. Okay, we again नाला हो गए हैं, wetlands को कोई समझता ही नहीं है. कुछ लोग borders जाते हैं चिड़िया देखने के लिए, वो रिकॉर्ड करते हैं. वीज़ा के इनिशिएटिव्स है, AWC एशियन वाटरफॉल सेंसस होते हैं, रिकॉर्ड करते हैं, बट पॉलिसी लेवल पे या प्रैक्टिकल लेवल पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन बहुत स्लो है. अमृत ने भी काफ़ी कोशिश किया है, बट अगेन दे जस्ट लुक एट द वाटर बॉडी. जहाँ पे पानी है वो वाटर बॉडी है, बट ना कैचमेंट सोचते हैं ना डाउन स्ट्रीम सोचते हैं. So that's a complete disconnect, and therefore the capacity of the urban planners, town and country planning officers. So how do you make them understand that this is not a wasteland, like Archana was saying? How do you, in your master plans, recognize that continuum and not just the wetland in isolation? big challenge. We had been struggling, you know, आपने 200 crore loss Bangalore की कहानी बताया था इसमें. So we had been working in an area which is outskirts of Bangalore. It used to be a peri-urban area, but in September 2025, the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister announced that the urban area is, you know, expanding, and the peri-urban area where we used to work is now part of Bangalore. We have been trying to, so this is a river called Arkavati. Arkavati used to be very important for Bangalore. And Arkavati ka beauty hai ki it had an interconnected system of tanks, you know, जो water bodies हुआ करता था, irrigation tanks हुआ करता था वो, but land use change हुआ, urbanization हुआ, industrial parks आ गए हैं वहाँ पे, so connectivity is completely lost. So we've been working with a very fascinating district administrator, एक magistrate आया था वहाँ पे, उन्होंने कहा कि मेरा विषय नहीं बैंगलोर रूरल, दिस यूज्ड टू बी बैंगलोर रूरल डिस्ट्रिक्ट, मुझे बैंगलोर रूरल को वेटलैंड डिस्ट्रिक्ट बनाना है. तो हमने कहा कि दिस इज़ ग्रेट. सो काफ़ी रेयरली लोग ऐसे वेटलैंड के बारे में बात करते हैं. सो वी स्टार्टेड वर्किंग विद हिम एंड हमने बोला कि सर बेसिन लेवल पे सोचते हैं. तो उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है बताओ क्या करना है. सो ब्रिज गोपाल सर यूज्ड टू बी आवर एडवाइजर एट दैट टाइम. ही इज़ नो मोर नाउ. ही हैड बीन अ ग्रेट सपोर्ट इन पुशिंग द वेटलैंड एजेंडा. सो ब्रिज गोपाल सर और हम साथ में चले, उनको समझाया तो बोला कि ये बहुत सही है, पूरा मेरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है, व्हाई डोंट वी स्टार्ट लुकिंग एट. तो वहाँ पे ये छोटा रिवर्स का कहानी आ गया. नदी नहीं है बट स्ट्रीम्स है, एंड ऑल ऑफ दो स्ट्रीम्स आर कनेक्टेड टू वन वेटलैंड और अदर. सो देयर इज अ कैस्केड सिस्टम ऑफ टैंक्स. कैस्केड्स का कनेक्शन टूट गया, वो कैस्केड नदी से कनेक्शन टूट गया. देयर आर अबाउट 25 ऑड कनेक्शंस लाइक दैट. सो वी सेड ओके लेट अस लुक एट रिवाइविंग वन और टू ऑफ देम. WWF ने जो इन्वेस्टमेंट किया था इट वॉज पीनट्स. बाकी पैसा पूरा स्टेक होल्डर्स से आया. गवर्नमेंट ने पैसा डाला. सो वी वेर एबल टू रिवाइव अबाउट 3 ऑफ दीज सिस्टम्स एंड नाउ वी हैव अ मॉडल. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज इसको आगे कैसे बढ़ाएं. अर्कावती के लिए बेसिन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं है क्योंकि मल्टीपल डिपार्टमेंट्स है, मल्टीपल पार्टीज है इसमें, तो वो सब अभी चल रहा है. सो वी नीड टू लुक एट वन इनेबलिंग पॉलिसीज, फ्रेमवर्क्स क्या हो सकता है, इंस्टीट्यूशंस क्या हो सकता है, कैपेसिटी. जैसे आपने कहा कि ये नेचर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन है, पैसा इसमें खर्च, एंड वी आर नॉट एडवोकेटिंग ओनली फॉर नेचर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन. सो हाइब्रिड सिस्टम्स आर नीडेड, लेकिन वो समझ हाइब्रिड सिस्टम कहाँ पे प्लग इन कर सकते हैं वो हमें, यू नो. सो वी नीड टू बिल्ड दैट कैपेसिटी ऑन द प्लानर्स, इंजीनियर्स एंड अदर पीपल. इवन इन एग्रीकल्चर, you know, agriculture में भी natural farming का opportunities काफ़ी है. So that's the third one, and then look at financing, you know, programs, schemes, government of India का कैसे. Last point, there is a hope, you know, some of us, Archana was also part of this conversation. National adaptation plan आ रहा है. Okay. Climate is water. क्लाइमेट अडेप्टेशन का बिगिनिंग पॉइंट, जैसे हम वाटर प्रोफेशनल्स हैं तो हम बायस्ड हो सकते हैं. सर आप भी काफ़ी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. सो when you look at the adaptation plan, you can see a lot of emphasis given on water and wetland systems. So we hope that if it comes, you know, if it gets operational, so we'll see much increased financial allocations, much increased interest in conserving wetlands at a basin or a landscape scale. So I'll stop there and.
Water is entry point to adaptation.
Bilkul.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Suresh, we talked about different schemes. I was wondering, when we look into the schemes like Amrut, there is an agenda of rejuvenation of water bodies, but it has not taken care of the ecosystem approach of.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how do you think that these things can get penetrated there, in that where people are only thinking of water as a wetlands as just a water body, where how can we integrate it? And for example, even in Jal Jeevan Mission, there is a component of source sustainability. These are the sources, wetlands are the sources. How do we ensure that JJM also thinks about wetlands? I just wanted to understand from you, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, see, we have good models within the government, okay. Different, Jal Shakti mein, you know, Namami Gange mein काफ़ी models है, wetland as a whole, as a ecosystem treat किया है, उसको revive किया है. Now, it is only easy for a government to government peer learning process to be kind of initiated. So Amrut takes it from a water quality point of view. हमारे शहर में एक water body है, उसको clean up करना है. So that's that's their immediate concern. But I don't think there's a huge issue in transferring this knowledge that exists with Jal Shakti to Amrut and Mahua and vice versa. But वो platform क्या है? I don't know. So for instance, in MOEFCC, the wetland division, they could probably play an anchor role. And some of us, all of us are, knowledge partners to the Ministry of Environment and Forest and the Wetland Division. So can we actually envision a platform where we can kind of share this knowledge? One fascinating example that I remember is during UP Singh sir's time, that water talks he started, I think, some time back, quite some time, 5 years back. And so that where he used to bring in different arms of the government to kind of interact. District magistrate आ गया, Mahua से कोई आ गया, agriculture ministry से आ गया. So that learning process, how do you kind of bring to light that dialogue? Veena ji is here. The water partnership.
Suresh, actually, what you are talking about water talks. So water talks are still happening.
still happening.
Now, Archana Verma madam is involved
Yeah.
in that. But the point which you raised is very, very, very important because everybody, there were several meetings in Jal Shakti in the last couple of months and the last year. And there was they talk per se ecosystem approach, but they are not inviting the different ministries who are part of it.
Yeah.
Because when we talk of a basin management, so it is not only the Ministry of Jal Shakti.
Correct.
See,
They are inviting DMs, they are inviting administrators, but they all are not talking with each other. Like you have categorically emphasized about the basin organizations. They are not there. So law भी नहीं है और उसका regulatory framework भी नहीं है. तो हम किस dimensions में काम कर रहे हैं? तो वो जो अमृत का जो आप कह रहे हैं कि अमृत जो सरोवर वाला है, वो तो that is going on in one approach कि water body को clean करना है. And when the target comes, so water body को clean करने के लिए DMs के prerogative होते हैं. So they are already taking those measures, but they are not based on the whole ecosystem based.
Absolutely.
That is the
Yeah.
major,
Isolated.
setback.
see, that is target oriented. They are doing it under JSJB now.
Thanks, Suresh.
Thanks.
So I will come next to Dr. Gopal. Dr. Gopal, you have been working on water sector since long time. I would like to know whether, and the water circularity as well. So can wetlands become a critical infrastructure in circular water economy if we talk about it, especially for treated wastewater reuse?
Yeah, thank you, Ravi Prakash. So maybe the shortest answer will be yes. Let me start with that, yes. The way we have been treating or dealing with water per se, that extract, use, treat or untreat and discharge, so that linear model is not sustainable, at least for nowadays I can say. If you just see the water scenario, water demand scenario, probably now we are close to 700 and projected just by 2050 we'll be using something close to 1000 or maybe 1100. There are multiple projections. So if you touch that level, probably we are touching the total available water, utilizable water limit. So that will be extreme case for us because it's not uniformly distributed. But in that process, we will be generating around 100 BCM of wastewater. Now it's close to 80. So that is probably one asset we need to tap on to fill the gap we are doing. And the circularity is one important one. Right now, probably 28 to 30% we are treating. That too, we talk about urban water only. Maybe I'll drag you to the rural aspect. I belong to rural area. I have to make that point as well. So I'll say that I think you already highlighted the importance of wetland in treating and filtering water and those aspects. I need not to repeat it. So water, that wetland has to play a central and buffer role in that case. in circularity, I think recently IMI is involved in East Calcutta wetland, some kind of study, and we see that extreme level of circularity is there. You can be pro and against, and there are a number of points for discussion and all. But there is one model for learning, and we can enhance that model. It is not that what exactly is happening there, because there may be pro side and there may be a negative side of also. So maybe the negative side of that model can be enhanced, and through constructed wetlands, I would say, everywhere the natural wetlands are not there, that can be replicated. And that is, I see as a future, actually. It's not only Calcutta is generating, I think many cities are generating, and now many urban areas and peri-urban agriculture is now expanding, I would say. So we need that kind of, and that water after treatment can be utilized. Treatment is one part and circularity is another part. We are probably moderate in terms of treatment, but not good enough probably in terms of circularity at this point. So that gap exists, and I see that wetland will play a very crucial role in that aspect. Not all natural or not all Ramsar level of wetland, but probably we need to focus on the smaller wetlands. I'll give one example from rural area, because still even today you see the wastewater generation is far more from rural area, though it is decentralized, but more than urban, it's from rural. In future also it will be remain, though urban will increase. So in my village and around area, I have been talking this point, but probably not in a way, even I could not convince my boss Alok Sikka sir to draw his attention, but I'll take this opportunity to make the point that, you know, in rural area, the water consumption pattern in last, I think, decades has changed drastically. Every house is having now pump, those who can afford, and it's not regulated. Sometimes Jal Jeevan Mission tanks you see, probably it's not a platform to mention, but there will be always leakage and no regulation and running. That has created different problems. So smaller wetlands, those who served earlier as a drainage system for water, for small hamlets and villages, are throughout the year full. And during rainy season, since a storm water is joining them, so it creates a flood there. And the last time when I visited and I was trying to communicate with some of the policymakers, because almost all candidates recently and during Bihar election, they faced the heat of public because of this waterlogging. So one model I see there, wetland coming in a very big way. Every hamlets and village are having a small wetlands. So if that can be utilized properly as a buffer system and then some sort of treatment, it's not like STP, we don't need that kind of treatment in this rural area, but with some small, I would say, accelerated treatment, I'll bring another dimension into it, and I'll go with Suresh here. Is not just natural things, can be a little bit hybrid also. So that water can be used productively for agriculture, for aquatic system, with little change in land use pattern. So I see it's a very central role in future, okay. And drainage problem in rural area is now equally, I think, important than in urban area, because we mostly confine ourselves in Delhi, we don't realize the problem in rural area, I would say. But that is going to come, I think, that is the topic people will be talking, I think, in coming decades. So in all, at least for rural and decentralized kind of wastewater generation, I see very important role of wetland. Small, constructed, or maybe natural for that purpose wetland. So maybe I'll stop here if you have any. Okay.
I have a follow-up question. So you talked about small wetlands. Obviously, many talks have been going on for the natural wetlands, bigger wetlands, but smaller wetlands have been, left out. How do you think there should be a central integral policy instrument needed for smaller wetlands, or do you think that whatever the departments are looking into right now, they need to kind of integrate their policy with the NPCA, for example, or some other schemes? What do you think?
What I think is that we call it as aquascapes, smaller wetlands, a part of landscape. And since I don't see in near future any department or institutions coming directly for that purpose, but ongoing program like watershed management, because I have been associated, so I bring example from that only. So even this time, phase 3, they are going to launch, and they keep talking about that wetlands and the traditional water harvesting. For them, it's both are, I think, same. So to bring that into their umbrella. Yeah. So probably we need a kind of platform, as Suresh was mentioning, that where people can talk and take advantage of ongoing program for that integration of those things in that program rather than bringing any separate program that I don't see a reality in near future. So that is one program. Second, now Manrega has converted into GRAMG. So probably that can be institutionalized also there it's for maintenance purpose and management purpose also. So those kind of integration, how to do, probably we need more discussion on that. But I see that is a practical way of doing rather than thinking of any separate program.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Yes, yes.
I think Archana made this point. Our focus had been too much on the Ramsar sites. We have about 750,000 wetlands, okay, and we only start recognizing the wetlands which are about 2.25 hectares, isn't it? That's 237,000. Wetland rules gives enough power to the states. Okay. Now, how do you empower the state wetland authorities to look at their wetlands more seriously? Because abhi ground truthing bhi partially hua hai. So we need to kind of look at what can really drive actioning things around wetlands at the state level. Number one. Number two, how do we empower districts to look at their wetland? Because when you're hit hardest at your districts and the villages. So how do you empower the districts to take decisions around wetlands and move forward? And there are good examples. The water talks have, in the initial days I used to attend, recently I have not followed it. Great stories of district magistrates coming forward as wetland champions. So how do you kind of take these stories to inspire action at the district level is something that we need to look at. I don't think we need new policies. We have enough. How do you kind of operationalize, empower, and create that capacity and institutional framework at the local level to operationalize this is something I feel.
So on this very quickly, because I think you have to wrap up.
Yeah.
One of the instruments could be also the Gram Panchayat level development planning, integrated with the block development planning and with the district planning. So wetlands have to flow through this planning system. Then only some focus can be there on them, and also the financial outlays, because the GPDPs get funded through the Finance Commission, and a lot of focus is there on localization of SDGs and how even the KMGBF targets, the BMCs, the PBRs they have to prepare. So a lot of this focus is there at the Gram Panchayat level. So the only thing that we can do quickly, which is a low-hanging fruit, is to prepare capacity at that level of how they can mainstream this wetland planning into their GPDPs, BPDP and DPDP. Thank you.
So thank you so much. I think it was quite an interesting. I think the time is quite less we have right now. Otherwise, the discussion would have gone a little longer. But I really thank all the panelists for the insightful comments that they have given. The session is open for Q&A. Anyone who would like to ask any question, or would like to give any thought on wetlands and water, energy, health, environment nexus, would please, Nivedita.
Hi, I'm Nivedita. I'm from Wetalnds International South Asia. I just have to add one thing to what Mr. Suresh sir said. So you were talking about empowering state wetland authorities, right? What I have observed from my very limited experience is that even if you empower state wetland authorities, they don't have much power. Whatever is mentioned in the rules, they can do. But still, the direction goes again to the LSGs actually, panchayats. So they can only give direction to the panchayats that you have to do this. You have to take action on this particular incident that happened. So they are not actually empowered enough to take a legal action or take that proper action on their own. They are not capacitated enough to do that thing on their own. So, and I think even if you strengthen them, I mean institutionally or human resource wise, the direction finally goes back to the panchayats actually. So how can we actually tackle that situation? And if you take the LSD scenario, most of the works in most of the
particular village's task is done by an LSG. And wetlands are just a minor thing for an LSG actually. Like they may have to deal with health, they may have to deal with the development, infrastructure, education, everything. So for them, even environment, not even wetlands, environment itself is a minor task for them. So it's never a priority for them actually. So how do we tackle that?
So, you must, I think you should talk to Ritesh also. The principle behind formation of the state wetland authorities, uska composition आप देखिए, it's not about that office and the 2 researchers and the member secretary, okay? It's about the composition of the state wetland authority. It has multiple departments.
Yeah.
The principle was that every organization, every department would own wetlands in the right spirit. अभी एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट रिकॉग्नाइज ही नहीं कर रहे वेटलैंड्स में, मैं क्यों काम करूं? मुझे वो लिंकेज पता ही नहीं कि ग्राउंड वाटर नहीं मिलेगा जब वेटलैंड नहीं रहेगा. सो दैट इज द एम्पावरमेंट दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क है वहाँ पे. कितने वेटलैंड्स नोटिफाई करते हैं? नोटिफाई करने के नाम पे डरते हैं, बिकॉज रेगुलेट करना है एक्टिविटीज़. क्या परमिट करेंगे, क्या प्रोहिबिट करेंगे? सो वो इट इज़ फॉर माई बेनिफिट, द बेनिफिट ऑफ माई सिटीजन्स, दैट understanding need to develop. So that's why the ecosystem argument, it's a challenge for all of us. How do you make them understand there is something in it for you? वो हमारे, probably we are also not doing enough to communicate that.
Focus on behavioral change.
LSG क्यों नहीं इसके बारे में सोचेंगे? नहीं, जब ड्राउट आते हैं तो टैंकर चलाते हैं, उसके लिए पैसा नहीं मिलते. जब फ्लड आते हैं तो बोट चलाना पड़ता है. So LSG can understand, should understand this, and we need to make the economic argument, the social argument. One Health की बात कर रहे हैं. One Health, बर्ड फ्लू आते हैं तो कहाँ आते हैं? पहले वेटलैंड्स में तो आते हैं. चिड़िया मरते हैं, देन कलिंग शुरू होते हैं पोल्ट्री का, लाइवलीहुड लॉस. सो बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू मेक दोस इंटरकनेक्शंस, interlinkages. We are not able to communicate that, and that's the reason why they struggle. So unless different departments, you made that point and what Archana said, and unless the sectoral plans integrate some of these nature related aspects into their plans and schemes, things will not fly. So it's a huge task. We are seeing some changes in some places. Let's see how it goes.
And wetlands need recognition in the revenue records. That's not there. That's why it's very easy to change there.
I will take one last question.
Can I supplement just one lighter note? You already mentioned the behavioral change. So why we assume that everything will be done through regulation only? So that one part, when you go on sensitizing people and behavioral change, that takes time. No need to get impatient. So that is the bigger strength for our society. Basically, regulation drive nothing in India. Probably, I think there is one I would say that framework. But it is not the main framework. Main framework is how we behave, and that takes time. So things will go in that direction. Okay.
I'll just come after.
Good afternoon to the panel. I'm Alicia. I'm from Delhi School of Advanced Studies. I'm doing my economics. My question is, we are all talking about regulation, but what about the monitoring part? Because there is a lot of wetland encroachment that keeps on happening, even after recognizing that there is a wetland. So what are the monitoring measures that we can do here? Do we need to establish a whole body just to monitor it?
Who would like to take the question?
Most difficult one, because when you approach any authority in districts, they don't want to touch the encroachment part, because that has a number of dimensions, and they surrender simply. That's beyond our control. So politically, I would say probably. So we all understand, because wetlands are getting encroached. We appreciate the question, but we don't have right answer, to be frank, to this point, because I have not get any answer from any local authority. They try, keep doing.
Yeah.
It works sometimes in roads and buildings and other landscape. For wetlands, mostly they fail. And
Yeah.
it's,
One example in Telangana, Hyderabad, the Hydra.
we'll find 1,000 examples. Each village I am talking about, forget about one bigger wetland. So this is a question, and probably, I don't know, it will be reverted back or not, but probably the question you are putting, the way we are discussing, the way we are approaching, so the pace of encroachment will reduce. That I am hopeful, at least, and probably we should be hopeful, rather than reverting the things. Maybe that answer, I think they can supplement people.
Just to give you a short answer to what you have asked. So there are protocols of monitoring the management itself. For example, we have MED tool that developed management effectiveness tracking tool for a particular wetland owner who is the wetland manager there. So we do have these systems, but again, these systems needs to be put on place. So we have been doing this for the larger wetlands, the Ramsar sites. We have the RMED tool for each and every component of the wetland ecological character, but again, these needs to be there for each and every wetlands. So that's there. Yeah. So I would, Dr.
very
Sikka,
quick.
yeah,
I will
please.
not take more time
Yeah.
because I know that when we are talking about this wetland management at basin scale or at the district level, at basin scale, of course, IWRM is the buzzword. Everybody will talk about
You're chairing that.
IWRM, integrated water resource management. But we also understand since there is no RBO, so in our country that IWRM is still free.
Non-functional.
Although I am right now chairing the
Task force.
task force of IWRM for Government of India. Veena is also one of the members in my team, and we are developing a chapter on that. So what we are going to do is that I said very clearly that I'm not going to restrict to the basin scale.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a differential spatial scaling. The real action lies at the lowest level. Unless we do that, it's not going to happen. So that is, but at the same time, we need to do IWRM at various levels. If
It's not
at a
just
watershed level, at a local level, or
Everywhere.
micro watershed.
Absolutely.
And that is the way forward to really push IWRM. At a basin level, you can have the very high level kind of a thing, but actionable IWRM at the local level. Similarly, that's the base. For urban areas, unless we get into IUWM, integrated urban water management, where aquifers, flood water, sanitation, wetlands, they all are if not done, because that disconnectivity is never going to be taken care of. So these are the, I think, things that at the high policy level have to be seen. So this is something that, and I would be very happy to see that if you guys can contribute something, when I'm now writing this thing on the group report on IWRM, how I can best integrate wetlands into
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
I know it's there, but if I can get some more inputs, I'll be more than happy to
Sure.
include that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for this. I think there's lots of food for thought. We can think about it when we go back to our places. I would like to, so from IWF, who has been organizing this workshop, has a small gift for the panelists. So, I'd like to gift it to.
Yeah, I'll be there. I think
Please,
we'll
if you
have,
Yeah.
it's okay, not a problem.
Thank you,
Like
thank
that.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Symbol for wetland.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. So we'll have a one group photo. I think.
Nature-based solution. Of course, NBS alone will not work. NBS plus built infrastructure have to go together.
So let's have one group photo. I will request all the
Sir, आप भी आ जाइए।
participants
Sir,
as well to come to join. I think यहाँ पे join हो
इधर
जाएंगे.
इधर
वीना जी
अरे नहीं है, अरे ऐसे नहीं। अरे नहीं नहीं नहीं।
सिक्का सर, मैं आपसे एक चीज कहने वाली थी
हाँ।
जो